When I go looking for someone to promote in the workplace, one of the things I've historically looked for is people with energy, people who show up and can sustain that energy through the day and not just fall off because they are not looking after themselves. And so today I'm really excited because my guest, Dara Lee, is going to share with you how you can build sustained energy so that you can lead, so that you can show up as exceptional and be the person that people want to promote. Dara Lee, it is my pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for having me. I'm super excited to be here and share this with your audience.
Awesome. So when we talk about sustained energy and having that vitality to show up, what is your definition of sustained energy?
So, great question. My definition would be just having a nice, even energy that lasts throughout the day rather than those peaks and valleys that so often happens when we're, you know, filling up on things that we shouldn't necessarily be filling up on. And I'll talk a little bit about that.
So for me, one of the things I would notice is about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, my energy would tank, right? Like it would just like drop and go down. And I'd be like, how much longer is this day going on for? Especially if I've been sitting in a lot of meetings, using a lot of brain power. So I know that you specialize in nutrition and movement. What is something that we can do to help us become better at gaining that sustained energy?
Okay. The number one thing, really, Nancy, is eating just whole foods. Now, we live in a world where we have access to all kinds of prepackaged, ready to go, drive through, quick meals that what they do is they give you that quick boost that you're looking for, but exactly what you're saying, you end up with that 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock slump, right? When we are eating and what I mean by whole foods are foods that just as they come, right? Lean protein, fruits, vegetables, legumes, and things that are free of all of those additional additives, flavor enhancers, preservatives, all of that. And I know a lot of people think that that's too complicated to learn how to prepare and cook that way, but it really isn't. And I help people understand the value of this, especially as we're going through our career, as we want to continue to, get those promotions, be the person who is on point, who is ready to go all day long without that afternoon slump.
So tell me, because I right at the moment am doing work with a company in LA and Texas, and often I spend so much time in meetings that will go from like 10 a.m. right through to 2 p.m. my time, which for those people who are in LA, it like comes up on lunch for them. What would you do and what would you recommend for me to be able to keep that sustained energy while I sit in those meetings that are going straight through?
Okay. First of all, I think for anybody who has a meeting that goes that long without having breaks in there, they're not going to get the type of performance that they want out of the people in that meeting. So I don't know if you could talk to the person running that meeting, but certainly that is a challenge because in order to maintain, our energy levels, so it starts really with a good nutritious breakfast. And a lot of times we skip that, right? We grab the cup of coffee, maybe a bagel and cream cheese or whatever, or Danish running out the door. Really take those extra 10 minutes in the morning and have a nutrient-packed breakfast that is going to sustain you until lunch. I would hope if you're having a meeting that's, 3 or 4 hours long through the lunch break, that they're going to offer some kind of a meal in there because it's not realistic to expect any human to be able to perform at their peak for that extended amount of time. If it is, then pack yourself some snacks that you can eat, like some nuts are really great. Throw in some dark chocolate bits in there because they're good for brain boosting. They're also give you that little bit of energy that you want. And stay hydrated. That's really key. hydration is so important, and I don't think that we give it the 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 credence that it really deserves, because we are 70% water. Our brain needs to be hydrated. One of the first things that happens when we get dehydrated is that our brain starts to get foggy. You get that brain fog, and you cannot perform at your peak if you're dehydrated. So make sure you have a water bottle with you. And if at all possible, um, you know, do some kind of movement, some kind of stretches, even if you're just doing a little bit of this. Our bodies are meant to move. And what I recommend, and this may not be possible in a 3 or 4 hour meeting, but every hour we should at least stand up and do some kind of stretching for just a couple of minutes. And again, I would speak to the person who's running this meeting and say, listen,
So let me clarify. This is not typically one meeting. It's back to back to back.
back to
And
back,
this is
yeah.
very standard in the corporate world
Okay,
to go
sure.
back to back to back to back.
Okay. Some tips there. In between the meeting, make sure you get a little bit of stretching, right? A little bit
Yeah.
of movement. One thing that I also really want to recommend to people, and oftentimes if it's just one or two or three people that are meeting and you're working on a project, hey, let's take this outside. Let's walk while we're meeting. A couple of things that happens, right? It's going to get the oxygen moving, the brain flow going. It's also a change environment can up your creativity. Just getting out, we call it walking meetings. And what a great way to be able to brainstorm. And maybe not for the whole meeting, but hey, for the first 10 minutes, let's just get outside and walk. Let's start brainstorming while we're moving. It really it does so much good for the brain boosting, for the ability to have creative thinking happening.
I love the idea of walking meetings, and I was trying to think of how to do this, right? I said my clients currently are in Texas and LA, and I'm in Canada. So for me, I'm like, what can I do? But I could just take the Teams meeting on my phone and go for a walk around the neighborhood while still being in that meeting, still keeping that energy going as I move forward.
Okay.
So, and I also think, just to reiterate some of what you said, for those people who are in like Zoom meetings or on meetings, stand up. I know this incredible engineering company who gives all of their employees a little treadmill that they can use to walk on under their desk, and it just gives them that chance to keep moving. As we think about preparing for the day, so I heard you start with breakfast, about the importance of taking that time, having a good quality breakfast that is nutrient dense. As people are starting to think about, and you also talked about having snacks like nuts and chocolate, as I'm looking at kind of lunchtime and trying to prepare something that I can take with me, let's do that first. If I'm going to take something with me, and then if by chance I have a lunch meeting where I need to go out, let's start with, what should I prepare? What types of things should I pack in my kit to take with me?
Right. So a great food is a salad full of a variety of leafy greens, right? There's so many good reasons to do that. But then you want to add to that your lean protein, whether that be fish, whether that be chicken, whether that be beans, right? And then get creative. I actually have a download that I offer a lot of times called 101 Salad Toppers. So you throw in there fruit, you can throw in there dried fruit, you can throw in there nuts, just, a little bit of cheese. Don't overload it with cheese, don't overload it with heavy things, but a little sprinkling just gives it that extra little flavor. And I just totally recommend you get creative. If you have leftover veggies from the night before, throw those on there, right? There's so many things you can do to really liven up that salad and make it more enjoyable. Or bring your leftover dinner from the night before. One of the worst things you can do is run to the deli and get one of those big old giant deli sandwiches. That's when you're going to get that 3 o'clock slump.
The Italian background in me loves big old deli sandwiches. But I do hear you, right? Like packing a nice clean salad, something that you can take with you, something that, um, I've even brought my lunch to meetings with me. If I'm sitting
Sure.
in a meeting, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to have my lunch in a meeting. Now, oftentimes, especially in the corporate world, especially as people are interviewing, preparing for these things, we can sometimes have offsite lunches, offsite meals.
Mm. Yep.
What would you recommend
Yeah.
for me to have to make sure that I can sustain that energy during that time period as well?
Yeah. So I guess one of the things to stay away from is like the fried foods, right?
Mm.
Stay away from that because again, that's just going to slow you down with all the extra hydrogenated oils and whatnot in there. But really, again, just look for a lean protein, a good carb. Carbs have a bad rap, but really, potatoes are a good carb if you're not overloading it with a lot of stuff and you're not frying it, deep frying it. Sweet potato, a lot of times, restaurants will have sweet potatoes right on their menu without and get it without the extra um, butter or tons of all that extra stuff. And so again, salads are good, soups are good, stews, that kind of thing. But just really pay attention to what's there and stay away from the extra bread. One slice of bread is fine, but sometimes they bring out the bread and you eat 2 or 3 pieces of bread before you even start your meal, right? But
Italian restaurants.
I love pasta. I love pasta, believe me. But that's not a good lunchtime meal because you're going to crash. Again, those are some of those, carbs that they give you a quick energy boost, and you're going to end up with that crash. But some lean protein, some vegetables, that kind of thing. That's what you're looking for your lunch.
Awesome. So as I'm starting to eat better, do those types of things, what other kinds of movement activities do you recommend? And should I do it first thing in the morning before I start my day, at the end of the day? What's your thoughts on that?
That's very individual. Whatever works for you. What you want to try to do is get in 30 minutes worth of movement per day, 5 days a week. That's kind of like the recommended, right? It doesn't have to be all at once. Now, if you're not an early morning person, you may not want to get up at, 4:30 so you have time to do that. But what I recommend is you find movement activities that bring you joy, that you enjoy doing, right? If you like to dance, pop on music and dance around the house. If you like yoga, yoga is very good, very soothing, very important. But I really like to recommend that at least every hour you get up and you stand up for, just a couple of minutes just to stretch, just to move. Again, so important. Sitting at your desk all day is like the new smoking. It just 6 hours a day at your desk without moving is really not good for your health, not good for your energy level, not good for your brain power. All of those things get diminished when you just sit and don't move. So again, if you're an evening person, exercise movement in the evening, it's really up to you. I like sneaking it in when I can. If there's an elevator in the building that you work, don't take the elevator, take the stairs. There's a couple of minutes that you could do maybe in between meetings. Your meeting is upstairs, take the stairs kind of thing.
Yeah, there's so many ways to just put movement into the day. And one of the things, just to carry on with what Dara Lee's saying, is I love standing meetings. Sometimes I'll be like, let's have a short meeting. Let's just stand. Let's not all walk into the conference room and take our seat. Let's just stand and have that meeting from that standing position. Dara Lee, it has been such a pleasure to have you on the show today. For those of you who are thinking, is this really necessary? Here's one thing that I want you to think about. If you look at some of the top leaders in the world, the ones who are exceptional, one of the things they do show up with is sustained energy. And it's because they pay attention to their nutrition and their movement. So, Dara Lee, if people want to do a little work with you, how can they connect?
The best way to find me is daralee.com. That's my website. You can see what I'm all about. You can connect with me very, very simply there. And it's easy to
Awesome.
remember, right? daralee.com.
And that will be below so you can easily find it. Dara Lee, do you have a free offer or something?
I do also have a free offer, and it's called Remarkable Vitality. And what that is 10 brain boosting foods and easy ways to incorporate them into your meals throughout the day.
Fantastic. So if you want that 10 boosting foods and you want to be able to have things that build your energy, that give you sustainment so that you can succeed, then click the link below and reach out to Dara Lee and find out more about how you can show up with the energy to lead.
All right.
Cheers and have a great day.
Thanks, Nancy.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you very much.